Brendan, I think, the more I think about this, I think Creed is the best of the Rocky Creed franchise.
No, I'm already there.
You're already there? Okay.
At the very least, it is my favorite. I mean,
Yeah.
it's still. I mean, Creed is only 8 years old at this point. It certainly doesn't have the life that Rocky has had yet, with that coming out in 1976. So,
Mhm.
but at the same time, in those 8 years, the cultural impact has been quite big.
Yeah.
To think in maybe 20 years or so, I think we'll still be talking about Creed.
I think so as well. I do think its legacy, its reputation in another 50 years, I think it'll be as prominent as Rocky,
I
or
think the
as,
thing,
as
yeah,
solid.
I think the thing that's going to help it out is the fact that it came out at this time when legacy sequels are such a thing.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
do think that those types of films, those types of sequels, if you want to call it that, they'll have some legs for a while. We're still going to see a
Yeah.
lot of them for quite some years, I think. And the fact that Creed does it so well, in fact, the argument I think could be made that it might be the best legacy sequel ever made.
Seriously. Yeah.
I think that's another reason why it's
Yeah.
going to have some staying power outside of just, the cultural aspect of it. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. I was just on another show talking about the Best Picture nominees of 1976.
Yeah.
And at the end of that episode, we collectively as a panel decided that we didn't have to redo the Oscars. And I, as much as I love the other 4 nominations that came along with Rocky and Rocky winning Best Picture, like, honestly, I think Rocky is one of the best sports movies ever made. I don't have any issue with its win there. It wouldn't have been my personal choice, but I have no issue with it being a Best Picture winner. I think it's, in many respects, just as deserving. It is a really, really great sports movie and a phenomenal honorable mention here on my list. But there's something about how Creed, the film Creed, channels the legacy of Rocky and how it incorporates it into this new and invigorating story here with Adonis, that I think is great. Like that Adonis Rocky relationship here, thematically at the core of the film, it's about how family isn't defined by DNA. Apollo was family to Rocky. In fact, throughout a lot of that film, Adonis calls Rocky uncle. So the closeness of their relationship is very much embodied on screen. And then you couple that with Coogler's filmmaking and the direction of the film and just how sharp the writing is here. Like, everything about this movie, it is the quintessential sports movie, the quintessential legacy sequel. The performances here are incredible. Michael B. Jordan, obviously very good. Sylvester Stallone was my pick for Best Supporting Actor that year.
Yeah.
Nothing against Mark Rylance. He's very
still great
good
in that movie. Yeah.
I completely agree, but my vote would have went to Sylvester Stallone. I mean, how he channels, Rocky's history to evoke a new fight that Rocky's having to battle in that film while being that mentor to Adonis is just incredible. It's so good and so moving, and it's been circulating on social media the last few weeks. But that last fight that you see at the end of that film is truly one of the best sports sequences ever put to film. It is so good. And the musicality of it is incredible, right?
Waiting for the right moment to bring that score back.
It teases, right? It teases throughout the film, and in that scene, in that sequence, it teases it. And then you get that line from Rocky about being a Creed and I love you. And then that's when, oh my God, it is so good.
That
like
moment when Adonis, when he
it.
finally reveals what he's fighting for, or at least trying to fight against, I guess, what his real enemy is. It really is beautiful.
So good. Love it.
It's interesting, when I was putting together this list and I was trying to battle myself, I guess. I kept putting on films like The Endless Summer, like I talked about later. I'm not sure if that would actually be in my top 5, but I wanted to talk about it because it's a different film. But I did keep going back to Creed, knowing that, in actuality, it's probably one of my 5 favorite sports movies. It is my favorite of the Rocky universe, the Rockyverse or
Yeah.
Creedverse, whatever you want to call it as now. And I really love the fact that Ryan Coogler got it made in the way that he always wanted and envisioned it. It's
Hmm.
very rare that a movie like this, that is this legacy sequel to such a popular franchise that only got aesthetically bigger as each one came out,
Hmm.
was still this deeply rooted in indie film sensibilities.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Hmm.
it in many ways it's a blockbuster, but it's also not. And it straddles that line so well. It has this urban grime to it that most blockbusters don't. It doesn't have this polish. It doesn't have this sheen, despite this rewatchability. It's something you don't often see just in modern movies in general, and I really respect that.
Yeah. It's phenomenal. Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it just has everything you'd want in a movie like this in terms of the action and Coogler's filmmaking. It really is engrossing to
Yeah,
watch cinematically speaking, but then you start to think about what it's doing in terms of character and theme and the complexities at play there, like these individuals coming together at this time,
yeah,
how that makes sense for them given their past and how it's sort of pseudo cross before, but
yeah,
not directly until the events of this film, and how ultimately they need each other to make it to the end. Like
yeah.
Rocky
Fair.
doesn't make it to the end of this movie without Adonis and vice
Right,
versa.
right.
And to see them become that support system, that's like that level of nuance in characterization and emotion is what gives credence, what makes sense
Gives
of
credence.
credence. Exactly. I totally did that on purpose.
Oh, sure you did. Sure.
To that moment we mentioned earlier, you know, as Creed prepares for the 12th round of that final bout,
Yeah.
and that line there from Rocky, like, that doesn't carry as much weight without, the level of characterization and theme that we get here. So
And the film doesn't need to explain that. There's
yeah.
natural dialogue. It's a great screenplay that's able to
Hmm.
cue us in on that, and it does it in a way that makes you think about it further, rather than just blueprinting the whole
Hmm.
thematic idea for you, which some other movies in these categories might do, but this one does it very smartly. It's a beautiful
Yeah.
film. It really is.